Well, thank you again, Madison. We appreciate this and congratulations on your scholarship.
Thank you.
We just have a few questions I want to ask you today, and I'm going to start talking about COVID-19 because for the last year, a lot of our lives, I won't say a lot, but most of our lives have changed, whether it's our social activities and hanging out with our friends to how we work and when we work. So tell me, how did the pandemic of the last year impact your learning experience, or how did your learning experience change due to COVID-19?
Yes, thank you. So, my learning experience changed like vastly due to the pandemic. We had our last day of school, I believe it was actually a year ago today. And after that, we didn't even know that we wouldn't be going back for like months. And so, after those last few days, we started getting on Zoom calls every day for like the whole day. And my learning just changed drastically because it went from just mainly face to face, being able to see my teachers, being able to see my peers, to completely virtual, submitting assignments online. And so the main struggle that I had with this was through the pandemic, at least for me, and I know a lot of other students, it was way more difficult to grasp the concepts because in person you have the ability to ask questions and you can ask questions online, but you have that hands-on experience. If you think of something, you can say it right then and there to your teacher. You have that peer interaction where you can help each other. And so when all of that was taken away and everything just went virtual, for me personally, I just had to really stay on top of my studies to ensure that I was grasping the concepts because before it was kind of more easier. You had more homework, you had more assignments in person, but virtual, it was you just kind of had to do it on your own. You were being taught, but you really had to teach yourself as well. And so for me, I just had to stay committed and stay focused each day in class. And so that's really how the pandemic changed my learning experience.
Okay. And what do you think you learned over the past year?
Well, I learned many things, and one of the main things that I learned, especially when the pandemic first started, was that I am a person that really thrives on social interaction, being able to see my family, being able to see my friends. So when the pandemic began, I was in the house for many months at a time with just, my immediate family members. And so I was really struggling and I wanted to go out and I wanted to hang out with people, but I understood that we had to be safe. We had to take precautions. So this really taught me, one, I had to, adjust. We were able to FaceTime, text. I was able to virtually see my friends and family, but it wasn't necessarily the same. But I also had to learn to make my own fun wherever I was in the house. And so I began practicing yoga and mindfulness a lot throughout the pandemic, which was something that I began enjoying, which kind of kept me centered and grounded and really just let me know that everything ultimately was going to be okay eventually.
Okay, that's good. That's very good. I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk to you about the scholarship. You are one of seven Denny's Hungry for Education scholarship winners this year. How has the scholarship impacted you?
Well, yes, thank you. And first, I would just like to say thank you once again for selecting me as one of these recipients. I am the proud product of a single parent home, and I have extreme and very high hopes and dreams for myself, which some of these include going to college, becoming a veterinarian, going to vet school. And so, by winning this scholarship, this really just lightens that economic burden upon me and my mother and my family. And so, I am just so thankful that I was fortunate enough to be selected for this scholarship.
Awesome. Awesome. So now, one of the requirements for the scholarship is to write an essay. Tell me a little bit about your essay. What was your response and how you came up with that idea?
Yes. So my essay was centered around how Denny's could bring communities together, and that was the prompt. And so I began my essay just really speaking about my community, which is the African American community that I come from, and my pride that I take in my community. Then I transitioned into the main topic, which was that I believe Denny's could bring communities together by advocating for minority groups and really establishing great programs for underprivileged youth. And I came up with these ideas because lately, as we have seen, there has been much, political, societal unrest dealing with, racism, discrimination from all minority groups, not just African Americans, but all minority groups. And so I believe that Denny's could bring these communities together just by showing their support for these groups that are necessarily not always having a voice and having these large companies to speak for them. But if Denny's, can stand up and say that we stand with the African American community, we stand for the Hispanic community, we stand with the Asian community, I believe that that would just work wonders for the society, for Denny's, and it would just really show Denny's support for equality for all. And then as well, I also believe that underprivileged youth, many times they grow up in poverty, and then they might have some other, factors that come into play where they're discriminated against, maybe their race, their class system. And so these factors that these youth do not really have control over, they are already faced with discrimination in society. And so they really are, a lot of youth, they really just need like outlets and positive outlets that can keep them, engaged, wanting to learn, wanting to have positive goals. And so I believe that if Denny's could find a way to create some recreational programs and places for youth that they could go to practice sports, be creative, do some arts and crafts to learn, etc., I believe that this would be great for the community as well, and just keep these young people, focused on positive outlets, doing positive things that they can work to build towards their future.
Great, great. So you mentioned that you have big dreams and aspirations, right? So how do you see yourself contributing to the world once you graduate?
Yes, so after graduation, I see myself mainly giving back. I know the position that I'm in. I'm seeking to go to college soon, and I've worked hard. I've made good grades. I've studied in school, and I've really just been determined in achieving these goals. And so I know that there are countless other students like me, and maybe they don't have all the means to be able to support these goals to go to college. And so I feel that if I have the opportunity and I'm able to, be able to go to college, be able to graduate, the least that I could do is reach back for those other students to help them. If I'm an alumni to the school that they are seeking to go to, I can put in some good words. And also, after I graduate, I'll be, planning to go to vet school. And so just being able to help anyone in the same positions that I was in or that I am in, I can just see that, that's really my goal. And that would be really something that I plan on doing. So,
Okay. And one last question. Where do you see yourself at in 10 years?
yes. So in 10 years, I see myself most likely just graduating veterinary school. I would probably be working at a veterinary clinic in the area that I am living in working towards owning my own clinic. That is one of my goals. But just right out of vet school, I think I would have to work my way up. But I can see myself working at a clinic and ultimately just saving up the necessary knowledge, the clientele, and just the experience to be able to one day open my own veterinary practice and to be a veterinarian that people can come to when they love their animals, they love their pets, but they just may not have the means to pay for all those expensive surgeries.
Okay. Thank you again, Madison. I appreciate it. You did a wonderful job and
Thank,
good luck.
thank you. Thank you all so much for taking the time to do this interview with me today.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Great job, Madison. Good interview, good information, many blessings, and we are excited for your future and awesome future. You should know that Tanya has a dog that
Two.
two.
Oh,
Okay,
so cute.
Two
so you're in
pit
good
bulls.
company.
Okay, so
Wow.
sweet.